Life is not stingy. It's not withholding anything from you. The shelves are full. The fields are fertile. The ocean is wide. And yet most people tiptoe through life hoping not to disturb too much of it. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever stood in front of the mirror and wondered, why don't I have what I truly want? Not what society told you to want. Not what your family expects, but what you in the quiet of your soul ache for. You see, we are not limited by opportunity. We are limited by our own permission to ask for it. The greatest tragedy is not that people aim too high and miss, it's that they aim too low and hit. And the reason is simple. Most never learn the art of asking. You don't get what you deserve. You get what you ask for, clearly, confidently, and courageously. And tonight, I want to teach you how to ask, not with arrogance, but with boldness, not with begging, but with belief. Because I promise you this, whatever you truly want wants you too. But first, you must declare it. You know, I meet people all the time who say, if I just work a little harder, maybe things will change. And while effort is noble, let me remind you, life doesn't just reward effort, it rewards direction. And direction begins the moment you ask. Asking is the gateway. It's the door you knock on when you're ready to move from survival to success. But here's the strange thing most people don't ask. They don't ask for help. They don't ask for knowledge. They don't ask for opportunity. Not because they can't, but because somewhere along the line, they were taught to shrink their desires, to not bother people, to settle for whatever came their way. That's not humility. That's limitation. And life doesn't reward that. Let me tell you, the first time I asked to be mentored, I was nervous. I didn't know if I was worthy of someone's time, but I asked. And the answer changed everything. The man didn't just give me time, he gave me insight. That insight helped me build a future I couldn't have imagined at the time. And it all began with one question. See, asking isn't begging, it's intention. When you ask, you declare to life, I'm ready for more. Whether it's asking for a raise, asking to learn, asking to lead, every major breakthrough starts with a simple request. A request that says, this is where I am, but not where I'm going to stay. Some people wait for doors to open. But I've found that doors open faster when you knock. And if it doesn't open the first time, knock again. Persistence in asking is the mark of someone who knows their value. And if you don't yet believe in your value, let asking be the first step in discovering it. Opportunity doesn't find the quiet, it finds the bold. So ask. Now, once you begin to ask, really ask, something interesting happens. It's as if some invisible machinery kicks into gear. Not something you can see or touch, but you can feel it. It's real. The moment you ask, you activate a kind of unseen intelligence in the universe, in your mind, in the people around you. It's like the lights turn on and things begin to shift. And you don't have to understand exactly how it works. Just know that it does. Now listen, I'm not talking about magic. I'm talking about motion, mental motion, emotional motion, the machinery of possibility. I've seen it happen over and over again. A person sits quietly, defeated, overwhelmed, then one day they speak up. They ask. They ask for a chance, for a meeting, for insight, for direction. And from that moment, new conversations begin. New faces appear. New energy moves into their life. Back when I was broke financially and broke mentally, I started reading and listening. And eventually, I started asking questions. Little ones at first. How do I fix this? What do successful people do differently? That simple habit of asking opened the door to books, mentors, experiences I never would have had access to otherwise. Asking pulled the curtain back on a world I didn't know I had the right to enter. See, the machinery is always there, humming in the background. But it doesn't engage until you make the request. It's like walking into a dark room. You don't yell at the darkness, you flip the switch. And that's what asking does. It's the switch. The electricity was already there. The wiring already in place. You just had to activate it. Some people live their whole lives with that machinery sitting idle. Not because it was broken, because it was never engaged. Don't let that be you. Start asking not passively, but purposefully. Because the moment you do, unseen forces begin to move. And when they move, so do you. Ask and set the wheels in motion. Now, don't misunderstand me. Working hard is honorable. In fact, it's essential. But let me say something that may surprise you. Good workers don't always win. I've seen men and women put in 10, 12, 14 hours a day, loyal, dependable, on time, never miss a shift. And yet, year after year, they stay in the same place. Why? Because they never learned how to ask. They asked how to do the job, but they never asked how to grow. They asked how to meet the quota, but not how to become more valuable. You can be a faithful laborer your whole life and still be overlooked, not because the world is cruel, but because effort without direction is like rowing hard with no compass. I once knew a man, sharp fellow, worked for the same company for over 20 years. Showed up early, stayed late. But one day, a younger man with less experience was promoted right past him. And I'll never forget what he said. I did everything right, but I never asked. Never asked for responsibility, never asked for advancement, never asked what he could do to qualify for more. He waited for someone to notice, to reward, to tap him on the shoulder. But the truth is, no one taps if you don't lean forward. Working hard gets you in the door, but asking moves you up the stairs. And not just asking for promotion, asking how to be worth promoting, asking how to lead, asking how to solve bigger problems, asking how to contribute at a higher level. That's how you rise. Now think about this. The people who advance are rarely the ones just doing what they're told. They're the ones who ask how they can do more. That kind of initiative is magnetic. It doesn't just change how others see you, it changes how you see yourself. So keep working. But while you work, ask. Because asking isn't just an actum, it's a signal. And life responds to those who know how to send the right signal. People talk a lot about scarcity. They say, there's not enough to go around, not enough money, not enough time, not enough opportunity. But let me tell you something I discovered along the way. Scarcity isn't the problem. The shelves of life are still full. There's more opportunity now than ever before. More knowledge, more resources, more paths to wealth, to influence, to growth. The real enemy isn't scarcity, it's silence. Silence of ambition, silence of vision, silence of the voice that's supposed to speak up and say, that one's for me. I've met talented people with brilliant minds who spent decades living small, not because the world shut them out, but because they never knocked never raised their hand, never said, "I'm ready." You see, silence doesn't just keep others from hearing you, it keeps you from hearing yourself. That small voice inside that says, "You can do more." If you ignore it long enough, it gets quieter. And eventually, it disappears. When I was starting out, I wasn't loud. I was hesitant. I thought if I just kept quiet and did my job, success would somehow find me. But it didn't. What changed everything was learning to break the silence, to ask the questions, to declare the goals, to speak with clarity about what I wanted. That shift didn't just open doors, it woke me up inside. Silence is comfortable. That's why people live there. You can't fail if you don't ask. You can't be embarrassed. You can't be judged. But you also can't win. Life's rewards don't go to the quiet observer, they go to the bold participant. You don't have to shout. You don't have to demand. But you do have to speak, ask, state, claim. Because while everyone is worrying about whether there's enough to go around, the ones who speak up are already filling their baskets. You ever hear someone say, "I just want to be successful"? I have. Plenty of times. And every time, I ask the same question. Asterisk. Great. But what does success look like to you? Asterisk. You'd be amazed how many people can't answer. They want more, but they don't know more of what. They want better, but they haven't defined better than what. And that's the problem. Vague goals create vague lives. If your target is blurry, don't be surprised when you miss it, or worse, when you don't even know what direction to aim. I learned early on that one of the greatest secrets to getting what you want is learning to describe it with precision. Not just a better job, but what kind of job? In what field? Earning how much? Working with what kind of people? Not just I want to be healthier, but how many pounds? Asterisk, what's the waist size? Asterisk, what's the timeline? You've got to turn your wants into blueprints. Otherwise, you're just chasing fog. I remember the first time I sat down and wrote out my goals in clear, specific detail. It felt strange, like I was asking for too much. But over time, I realized something powerful: specificity doesn't make you greedy. Now here's a curious combination: logic and wonder. You've got to bring both to the table. Plan like an adult, believe like a child. That's the formula. Most folks only bring one or the other. Some sit around with big dreams, big faith, but no calendar, no structure, no numbers. And others plan down to the minute. Every detail accounted for, but they don't believe anything good will happen. One's got their head in the clouds, the other's buried in spreadsheets. But real success? That's when you bring the dreamer and the doer into the same room. When a child wants something, they believe it's possible. They don't worry about the economy or their background or what their uncle said couldn't be done. They just believe. Pure and simple. I once saw a little boy point at a toy in a store window and say, "I'm going to get that." No doubt. No hesitation. He didn't say, "Well, I've checked the monthly budget and assessed the cost of living adjustments." Number, he believed. And you know what? A few days later, his dad walked him back to that store and he walked out with the toy in his hands. Now, adults, we lose that somewhere. We get bruised by life. We plan because we've learned the hard way. And planning is good. It's wise. You need numbers. You need schedules. You need strategy. But you also need the part of you that still believes in surprise, in breakthrough, in possibility. That part that says, I know this plan is solid and I believe it can happen. I've written business plans on napkins and believed in them like a child believes in Christmas morning. And some of them came true. Not because they were perfect, but because the belief was strong enough to carry them through the hard days. So build your life with two hands. One hand writes the plan, the other holds the dream. Let one be firm, the other be free. Because life rewards those who prepare and believe. Let me leave you with this. Getting what you want out of life isn't a mystery. It's not reserved for the gifted, the lucky, or the well-connected. It's for the willing, asterisk, the willing to ask, the willing to grow, the willing to define their goals, believe in them, and move toward them with courage. If there's anything I've learned, it's this. Life doesn't push, it responds. And it responds best to those who know what they want and have the audacity to ask for it. You don't have to be perfect. You don't need all the answers. But you do need to begin. Begin asking. Begin believing. Begin trading vague hopes for clear goals and silent wishes for bold decisions. The doors are not locked. The handle is just on your side. So here's your challenge. For the next 90 days, ask. Ask with intelligence. Ask with faith. Ask with clarity and persistence. Watch what begins to move. Watch what changes not just around you, but in you. Because the life you want is not only possible, it's waiting. Waiting for one thing. You. Asterisk, asterisk. Now, step up. Ask and go claim it.